If you're in the process of looking for your first horse, then this video should be able to help you know what to look for when you actually go and you look and try out horses. So starting off, if this is your first time looking at horses and going to try them out, I highly recommend taking along either your instructor or a trainer or just any other experienced horse person with you. The reason for this is because they may be able to pick up on some stuff that you won't be able to. And it's just also nice to have that second opinion along with you. So find that person before you head out and look for horses and make sure that you include them in this process. How it goes when you usually go to look for a horse is you get to the stable and the seller already has the horse out, tied up or in their stall. So we're gonna go walk and see Tucker here. Hi, bud. There's some things you're gonna wanna look for when you first meet the horse. So number one is, how does the seller react around the horse? So if the person selling the horse is really comfortable around the horse and they're petting them and they're walking behind them, that's usually a good sign that they think the horse is safe to be around. Another thing to look for is how sleepy or tired the horse seems. And the reason this is so important is, unfortunately, in the horse world, some horses will get drugged or sedated when people come to try them out because the owners just want the person to like the horse. Some signs of this is if the horse's head is hanging low and they're just like this and their lip is kind of hanging and they just seem really out of it. And that was funny that Tucker put his head down when I was doing that. That's usually a sign that the horse may be drugged, so definitely look out for that. As you're first meeting the horse, you can be asking the seller questions just to kind of get a feel for what all they know about the horse. Of course, you can ask the age, the experience of the horse, how long the seller has had the horse. I feel like that one's important because if they haven't had the horse that long, you want to know why. Like if the person's just a seller to where they're bringing horses in and selling them and making a profit, that's one thing. And they're probably also not going to know too much about the horse on that aspect. If it's a private sale and they just got the horse and they're wanting to sell the horse, that probably means that they're not getting along with the horse. So you just want to look for things like that as well. There's some things you can research beforehand that can really give you some clues as to whether the information you have about the horse is true. If you look at the angle of the horse's teeth and how the horses kind of come together, that can tell you how old the horse is. So the younger the horse is, the straighter their teeth will be. And as the horse ages, their teeth are going to start going like this. So that's one thing you can look at. Another thing is, like for example, in geldings, they get canine teeth, and their canine teeth should be grown in by the time they're 4. So I can look at a horse's mouth, well, a gelding's mouth, and see if they have those canine teeth, and then I can know, okay, well, they're at least 4 years old. Now, this won't give you the horse's exact age, but it should be able to give you kind of like a ballpark range as to how old the horse is. Another thing you can look at that will kind of give you a clue into the horse's health is by looking at their feet. I love you too, and you'll get attention. So, a horse's feet can say a lot about them. This is just my personal experience, but what I always do when I look at horses is I look to see how good their feet are. And what I mean by that is, number one, how big the horse's feet are in comparison to their body. The bigger the feet, the better, is usually in my opinion. If the horse has smaller feet, that can restrict some circulation and things like that. So Tucker's feet are pretty normal for his size. Another thing to look at is how dished the horse's foot is. So if the horse's foot has a nice kind of dish on the sole, in my experience, it's not that I'm going to avoid a flat-footed horse, but just what I've seen working with horses for years is that flat-footed horses may tend to have health problems down the line. So in my experience, and like I said, this could be totally false, but this is just what I personally do, is I want a horse that has a nice shape and dish to their feet. I look at that because I do think it really impacts their health down the line, and so I always look at things like that just to kind of help me make a decision. Now it's time to get on and ride and try out the horse. And so the first thing I would recommend, always do, always do, is make the seller get on the horse first, and you can watch them ride the horse. The reason for this is if the seller isn't willing to get on the horse, you shouldn't be willing to get on the horse. Another reason you can do this is because it'll help you see some things in the horse that you may not pick up in the saddle. So you can see how sound the horse is, you can see how the horse moves or responds to things a little better. Tucker, you are just fidgety today, bud. And so always have the person who is offering the horse for sale get on and ride first. After the seller rides the horse, if the horse is all good, it behaved itself, everything like that, then your experienced horse person who came with you should get on the horse and ride first. The reason for this is, hopefully I would think that the experienced horse person you brought along knows your level and what you're at. And they should be able to tell from riding the horse whether it would be a good fit for you and whether you should even get on it or not. Because some horses, you know, they're good horses, but they may just be a little bit more advanced for someone who's looking for their first horse. Once they've all ridden the horse, now it's your turn to get on. So you can get on, and the first thing I would do when I'm trying out a horse is I'm going to see how well they respond to the basics. So I'm going to ask the horse to go forward, I'm going to ask the horse to come to a stop, I'll ask the horse to trot and stop, canter and stop, I'll turn left, I'll turn right, I'll ask the horse to back up. One very important thing is, if the horse is being offered for sale as a jumper or a trail riding horse, make sure you do those things when you're trying out the horse. So if it's offered as a jumper, make sure you go over jumps. The reason for this is many people may offer a horse as something, but in reality, the horse is not that. So you want to make sure you're getting a horse that you need. So if you want a jumper horse, you need to make sure that horse has been trained to jump and it can jump. This is especially important for trail riding horses because many people will claim to have an amazing trail riding horse, but if you go and try the horse and you never leave the arena, you're never gonna know. So that's why it is very important to do that. You wanna make sure that horse is everything that it's being offered as. If you've gotten to know the horse and you've gotten to ride the horse and you're like, this is a horse I would be interested in purchasing, then it is time to move forward. And so one thing you can do is a pre-purchase exam. A pre-purchase exam is basically where a vet comes out and looks over the horse and is able to give you the rundown about whether this horse is healthy, will this horse be able to do what you want it to do, whether you should buy this horse, everything like that. So some tips on this. Number one, you find the vet to do the pre-purchase exam. That's very important. Every vet is different and sellers have connections sometimes and things like that. So you just want to make sure you have a vet that you trust to do the exam. Now, I'm going to say something a little controversial here, but I have never done a pre-purchase exam before purchasing a horse. The reason for that is all my horses have been extremely cheap. So Tucker here was $650. All of my horses, none of them have been over $1,500. And so in that instance, and they were also like all unbroke and super young. And so in that instance, it just, to me, did not make sense to do a pre-purchase exam because it wasn't like I was buying something and being told that it was specifically trained to do this or something like that. I think pre-purchase exams have been used to kind of scare people a little bit in terms of no horse is perfect. So things are bound to come up on a pre-purchase exam, and you just need to make a decision in advance about the maintenance you're willing to put into your horse. Another thing you can do once you have tried out the horse and been like, okay, this is the horse I want to go with, is you can sometimes take the horse on trial. And basically this is where you just kind of lease the horse for a set time, usually like 30 days, just to see if you and this horse will get along, and you can take the horse to your stable and they can be in that environment and see if this is something you want. Now keep in mind, as I mentioned with the pre-purchase exam, sometimes this isn't always going to be an option. Like if you're buying something young and unbroke, that's probably not an option for you. But if you are buying something specific and that's trained and things like that, then you should at least always ask for a trial. I think that's definitely worth doing, even if trial isn't an option, just always ask. So once you have purchased your horse and you bring them home, I always tell people, give your horse time to settle in. If it's the horse's first time coming to your new home, it may take them some time to adjust because they have a new herd now, they're in a new environment, they have a new work schedule, and horses can be very sensitive to those changes and those stresses. And so always give your horse time. If you see behavioral shifts, that is completely normal for bringing your new horse home, and just let them relax. Don't expect too much out of them those first few weeks they're home. And if this is your first horse, just know that there are going to be some things you're just going to have to figure out as you go along. Like taking care of a horse, there's a lot to it, And so it can be a little overwhelming if it's your first time doing it. But because of that, I have made an online course that breaks down every aspect of horse care so that you can feel prepared when you finally get your horse. And so I'll put the link to that course in the description. It's at shop.equinehelper.com, and it's the Horse Care Keys to Success course. So you can check that out. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more weekly horse videos. Oh my gosh. Oh my.